There aren't many things that a man really truly needs in life. When I say needs, I mean the things he has absolute necessity for. There can also be an enormous difference between what a man really needs and what he really wants. Basically, enough money to be able to meet his financial responsibilities and obligations to a reasonable standard, which at the primary level include his shelter, his accommodation, food and clothing. Although there is an enormous disparity between the quality that these are available to him. For shelter, this can range from a cardboard box to a palace and all that's in between. For food, this can be the scraps from leftover meals in a dumpster to five-star Michelin nouveau cuisine. For clothing, this can be rags and hand-me-downs to the finest tailor-made suits on Savile Row, London, or cashmere garments in Harvey Nichols. Now let's take a quick look at the secondary level needs such as social, recreational, entertainment, and so on. Oh, and let's not forget the company of the fairest sex to complete a man's list. Dating that could eventually lead to a relationship or even a lifetime partner. So for social, it's nice to have a small circle of friends that you can rely on to spend time with and have a good chat, go out for a beer or two, just to set the world to rights and discuss all things in life. It's good to make connections and share thoughts and opinions and experiences. It's good for the soul. It doesn't have to be any more than one or two good friends and perhaps a few others that you know enough to have a quick chat with when passing. For entertainment and recreation, it's also healthy to have some hobbies or interests included into your routine for a change of scenery, whether it's hiking in nature or keeping fit with sporting activities, jumping on a scooter and going for a day trip to the beach or somewhere. Just one or two things to occupy your time and complement a lifestyle. One of them, which could be the following: dating, which is crucially important for a man. The desire for the company of the fairer sex is encoded into his DNA. It's part of his genetic makeup. He couldn't change that if he wanted to. It's the most fundamental, important aspect of what a man is and does, and therefore is high up on the list for the average guy. The company of a woman to share his life with, to do things with, to be able to confide in, to have love in his life, and of course, the all-important intimacy. It's no fun for a guy of any age to feel that his dating options are slim to none. In fact, it's almost demoralizing to feel that your dating pool is so small, that your options are so limited, you can barely muster the interest or enthusiasm anymore. Give most men a partner where there's mutual attraction along with the following three things: the love of a good woman, her company, and her sex. And in the main, he's happy. There's only two things that a man was put here on the planet to do. One was to eat to keep himself alive, and the other is to have sex to find a mate, or as many as he can, to pass his genes on to, ultimately for the survival of the species. That's it, pure and simple. All the other stuff are things that we've created for ourselves over time, such as businesses, sport, entertainment, technology, and politics, etc. Now, if we're being honest, the needs of the average man aren't really that much. We're simple creatures. So we can strip away the fantasies of Lamborghini, supermodels, private islands, and Hollywood A-lister success. But these are not necessities. But is it really asking too much that a man can at least have his basic needs fulfilled? And yet, if you were to ask the average man if he was truly happy and fulfilled, if he was to answer you truthfully, would probably say no. Not happy in his work life or his personal life, his sex life, or financially. Currently, in the West, there is an epidemic of males of all ages that just go through the daily motions of existing. When you work in all hours God sends in a stressful job to meet your monthly outgoings, when there's more days left at the end of the month than money, when your dating options feel like slim to none, or not even slim nowadays, if you know what I mean. When you look into the future and there's no horizon, it leads to a pretty grim outlook. It follows on from the cliche that most men live a life of quiet despair. Society says you find a mate, you get married, you settle down, you have a couple of kids, you pay your taxes, you keep the economy going, and then you quietly drift into old age as a convenient statistic. So, There you are in your retirement years, probably separated or divorced. At least statistically, anyway, you're more likely to be on your own. The social circle's all but dried up and your dating options are practically non-existent. It's easy to see how the average man can find himself in a precarious situation with the clock starting to run down on him. You're not getting any younger or prettier. You look up to the sky and you say, for God's sake, is that it? Is this all there is? And the only answer that you hear in your mind is a big, loud, unequivocal, yes. Oh dear. Not good. What to do? What's the solution, I wonder, if there was only one? It's times like this that when all a man wants to do is jump straight onto YouTube. That looks interesting. He says, what's this? A video about a guy who went off to Asia. That's right, off he went. Oh, really? What did he do that for? Well, you see, out there, he discovered that his money went a lot further, which meant he was able to afford a small, clean, modern, safe place to live without having to worry too much or get stressed about paying the bills every month. He also discovered that he could afford to eat out most of the time without having to even cook for himself if he didn't particularly feel like it. If he ever needed to buy new clothes because of the climate, it's mainly t-shirts and shorts and sandals or flip-flops, and he was able to buy most of these things very, very cheaply. And when he needed his clothes cleaning, he found laundry so inexpensive, he's never done it himself, once. In fact, if he ever needs his apartment cleaning, he can easily afford to have somebody do that for him as well, and assist with the shopping or cooking or anything else he needs assistance with, depending on his age and stage in life. Not to mention the warmer climate did wonders for his health. He then found out that there were many other people of a similar mindset in similar circumstances that also brought them to the same place for similar reasons, and they seemed to have a lot in common. So we had a lot to talk about, which meant that it was quite easy to make friends, as most of these people seemed to be much more relaxed and at ease and open to one another. In fact, over time, he made an effort and got to know quite a few people, which meant there was always people to chat to and go out for the occasional coffee or beer with, and eventually he found himself being invited to all kinds of social gatherings and activities. Really? Yeah. What else? Well, the icing on the cake was that, to his surprise, he was able to interact much more openly and freely with women who were not only interested in his advances, but who actually seemed to be really quite enthusiastic in getting to know him. He regained his confidence, and now there's no stopping him. He's actually slowly but surely been enjoying the dating scene, which is much more affordable than he thought, and has since found himself the kind of woman that in his mind he assumed would never stand a chance with. A lovely, feminine, simple, caring woman who just seems very happy and content to be with him. In fact, as time went by, he realized that there wasn't really much more in life that he really needed or wanted. Why? Because most, if not all of his needs, pretty much within reason, had been met. In fact, after all the initial ups and downs of settling in and adjusting to new surroundings in his new environment, all in all, on average, he seemed to be a much happier person. So what then? Well, he told me to tell you. Tell me what? He said, get your shit together and I'll see you there.